I'm Chetan, and with me is my trusty sidekick, Chris. Say hello again, Chris.
Hey, true believers. So I have a subject for today, and it's a silly question. So, and I actually have a sample. I have a pencil with me. How often do you use the erasers on the back of pencils?
When I was younger, a lot because doing
Hmm.
homework and stuff, and you're going like this, like this. As an artist, I would say zero.
Yep. It's kind of funny. I use them a little bit, but only if there's not an eraser near me at the time.
Nope, I always have an eraser on site sitting right here.
I have
And
a
for me, yeah, for
I was
me,
gonna say,
honestly, when I was a kid and you're doing your homework and all that stuff, you're going away like this because as a kid, your parents would tell you put your eraser, pencils, all that stuff in a pouch, whatever. When do you do that? You never do that. So, and the eraser sitting somewhere in your house and stuff like that. So you're erasing away. And I remember, you know, as a kid, you're scraping the metal part against the paper because
yep,
those
and you get that
erasers did not, yeah, yeah, the
that
streak
streak. Yep.
line, yeah, and the eraser did not last long.
Yeah, and to be honest, one of the problems with the back of a lot of pencils, this is a bad example because Blackwing erasers are actually pretty good. But a lot of the times the eraser, even on a more expensive pencil, Blackwings being the exception, the eraser sucks.
Yeah, I have some pencils here somewhere. Um, Sorry about this. Chris just brought the topic on last minute, so I'm not prepared for this. I
But
have
yeah,
a bunch
I
of,
would say that like most of the
yeah.
time, I think that it's weird. And you even get like, I find that if you get like fancy pencils, other than maybe Blackwings being one of the only exceptions, like your Stadler pencils and everything, they just got rid of the erasers.
Yeah, I think so. See, pencils I have here in my case here, none of them have erasers, and these were from the dollar store. And yeah, this one I have an old blue one that has an eraser, and if you look at, barely been used.
Yep.
And oh, I have one old one, which if you look at it, this is a really old one. So this is what I mean, where you're using it all the way to the metal part. And especially if you're doing
Yeah.
artwork, that was a really it was a big no-no because it would do indentation in your paper, and it would be so hard to you couldn't take that out.
The other thing I find is the lifespan of an eraser on a pencil is a lot less than the pencil. In other words, sometimes when I buy pencils, I'll buy like 50 pencils because why not, right? Like if
Yeah,
you buy a box, it's cheaper sometimes to buy a whole box or a whole bunch of pencils. And then like 10 years later, I'll still have those pencils. They'll draw perfectly fine. But that eraser, if you put it along there,
yeah, one
it's,
streak and it's gone. Yeah,
yeah, it'll either crumble apart, it'll either just not erase anymore, like it'll just smudge the pencil along, or sometimes if you've used it on another color, sometimes it'll leave that color streak. Like if
it does. Yeah. Now
so I just,
I
no, no, go
remember
ahead.
as a I remember as a kid, getting into art and stuff like that, and you start buying somewhat, art pencils you found at, this is, I can't remember what age. You didn't know there was art stores around, so you went to whatever your, groceries, not grocery, even grocery stores or department stores and stuff. They had a small art section, and you'd buy your pencils, but then eraser wise, you didn't know they made fancy erasers. You bought the pink pearl eraser, and
Yep.
that pink
Oh, the
pearl
pink
one, you
pearl.
just
That's
yeah, and you just go like that, and everything comes off. you know,
yeah. And the one thing you find it's interesting as an artist is how many erasers you'll go through in your life.
yes.
It's like it's crazy. Like probably each comic book I do, I probably go through two erasers entirely.
Now, did you do this as a young kid? You're erasing away. Then you go like this, like this. Then your mom or dad comes up and go, "Who's going to clean up the floor?" Because you're not picking. You're just throwing everything on the table. And no joke, it's like it could be like 2, 3 days worth of erasings on the floor. And
Yeah.
teenager you don't care. It's like you're
Yeah.
walking, you're just going, my desk is clean.
When you went to art school, did they make you buy one of those brushes?
No, unfortunately not. No, because some of the classes and I took, that wasn't a recommendation, but they did recommend, now this is going on different types of erasers. They mentioned a white eraser and a kneaded eraser, but not the
Yeah.
brush. No.
Yeah, I have a brush that I still use occasionally, but I tend to use it after, like, if I'm done drawing, or I'll clean up for the day and sort of, and use my brush. But I also have a few erasers. Like, I have an eraser that's like a pencil. I'll put a picture of it up here. But it's like a pencil, but it's an eraser inside the middle instead. And on the back, it has a brush.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it can do like fine detail sort of erasing and stuff like that. And it has like a little brush on the back, so you can.
Do you remember in the art store? And I remember at first I had no clue what it was until one of the architects who used to come in showed it to me. It was a metal piece of a thing like this, and it had grooves in it. And what you do is you put it against whatever you're line drawing, so you're erasing, but it doesn't affect anything else.
An eraser shield. That's what they're called.
That's what they're called. Okay, makes sense.
Yep. Yep.
Because
I think I still have mine, but I don't use it at all.
okay. Now I remember for years going, who would use this? Because until I started working at the art store, that's when my mind opened up and said, okay. I asked one of the guys who bought it, and I go, what do you use this for? And he explained to me he was an architect. And this is before the computer age. And it's like, yeah, because if you have blueprints and stuff like that, you know how eraser is. You go like this and your hand goes across, and everything's smeared.
Yeah, and I mean, how many times have you been like, maybe if you're drawing some buildings in the background, you want to take out like a little bit of maybe the
That,
back drawing or
yeah.
something. You end up trying to find the corner of your eraser to just get that little bit, as opposed
Little
to,
bit. That's it. Yep. And
So I
that's
think the
another
eraser
thing.
shield sort of fixes that.
That's another thing. Some erasers, what do you call it? Were perfect on erasing. Some of the, like we mentioned, the pink pearl one, where you start erasing and it starts crumbling in front of you, and other
Yeah.
erasers would smear everything.
Yes. Well, smearing everything, particularly when you're inking, that's
Yes.
a that's that's a thing for me. It's funny because, like, I will go and buy, like, I seek out erasers to try and find good ones that work on ink. We even have a
That's
past
it.
video
Yeah.
where I did a little test
On
on some ink
erasers,
blends.
yes. And that was the
And
biggest thing where, I bought expensive erasers and, going, these are crap.
yeah, yeah, it's amazing how some of them will, like, they either erase everything, including your ink line. Um, and then, like, so it's like you have to find that there's that perfect medium of, like, it gets rid of all the pencil, but nothing else.
And that's the thing where what Chris recommended, watch his video. We'll put a link to it on here for his testing of the erasers because what I use and what he uses is going to be different than what anyone watching here might have experience with because it depends on your pens because every pen has different type of ink in it. So each
And
eraser
paper.
is not and paper, yes. And each eraser is going to react differently to that paper and ink or pencil. And I
Yeah.
remember it's trial and error. Just I'm at an age and time where I don't switch paper. I don't try new paper. I use the same paper, use the same pencils, for drawing and same erasers. I've been buying those for a long time and it's worked for me. So, test it out, test it out.
Yeah. My problem is I keep moving. And so the erasers I like, I buy like, six or seven of them, and then I'll get through a few comic books, and the paper I like, that'll get me through a few. And then I move, and then I can't buy the same stuff anymore. So I have to start all over again. And it's
I bought
frustrating.
this white eraser is a Stadler one from
Mhm.
back to school. When they have back to school sale, they put them in packs of 4 or 5 or whatever. And I decided to
Yeah.
buy them and try them out. And I've been buying them for a long, long time now, and they work. For the pencils
Yeah.
I have and the ink I have, they work. And
Yeah.
again, like I said, through my experience, and Chris will verify it also, I bought the 25 cents erasers and I bought the $5 erasers. And not to say the cheap ones are crappy and the expensive ones are better. I found the middle ground, where, again, trial and error.
Yeah. And just hope that your trial and error doesn't lead you to having to buy $5 erasers all the time.
Yes, that's no, but if it does, it works for you, that's great.
Yeah. Although it might not work for your wallet.
Yes, yes. Yes. But that's
You
an
know, that's
interesting
that.
That's an interesting thing about erasers. And again, the pink erasers on back of pencils. It's like those were, you know, you worked. I remember working on the artwork for a long time, drawing away, young teenager me, and going like this, and all of a sudden you hear rip. You know,
Yeah. That, or like I say, your ink line just goes away, or smears.
that's
That's
it.
even worse.
Yep.
If it smears, then you're sitting there, great. Now I've got an hour of whiteout to do.
Yes. Yes.
Although I can't say the number of times. It's probably happened quite a few times where my eraser will smear my ink line, and I'll think, oh my God, it's ruined. But then I think, wait a minute, this eraser seems to erase ink as well. So I'll just erase the smeared part and it should be fine. And then it doesn't work. It only seems to smear once, and then suddenly it doesn't work anymore.
And I've found that also where, and this is where you're gonna agree, hopefully had that same experience where you erase something with the eraser, then you need another eraser to erase that line. you know,
Yep.
eraser to erase the eraser line marks.
That happens a lot. Getting back to the original topic of the backup pencils, sometimes I'll be drawing and I'll just be like, oh, it's a quick thing. I'll just flip it over. Like my eraser is maybe not within arm's reach. So I'll just flip my pencil over and then you're like smear and you're like, and then you have to go get the good eraser and
Yeah,
do it properly.
yeah. Well, that was
So
a good topic. That was a good topic. I wasn't, yeah, that brought up a lot of bad memories of erasers.
erasers are like a big part of like, what's funny too, because the number of students I speak to whose teachers tell them that they should never use erasers is so high.
I remember that. I remember in high school and even in bits of college about, that thing, don't use this, don't use that. And eraser was one of them.
I
Saying
don't understand that. Like,
draw light lines and then, darken it up and clean it up and stuff. But no, erasers are no, use it.
use it to fix your mistakes, but also use it to like add highlights and lots of other stuff. Like there's
Oh,
so much
that's
an
it.
eraser is
Yeah.
useful.
Yes.
I can understand like a teacher maybe at some point in art school, like a life drawing teacher saying, don't erase because I want to see how you did your construction lines and things like
That
that.
makes sense, but I remember just remember part of it where so, again it's old school art thinking, don't use this, don't use that, and but you know what, if the eraser helps you, more power to you.
Exactly. I'm so it's funny whenever kids say, "Oh, my teacher says I shouldn't use erasers." I'm like, "Use erasers. Go ahead. I use them all the time. I go through like two erasers every comic book, like entire
There
erasers."
you
So it's like
go. There you
if
go.
you want to make
So
stuff, use erasers.
yes, and again, check out Chris's Geek Shop mini comic episode on different types of erasers and what effects they do, or effects they have on paper and on ink lines.
Yeah. And also, if you have a good eraser tip, drop it in the comments.
Yeah, please drop it on comments, and we'll talk again about erasers and other art tools. Thank you for
Yep.
watching.